Python is really good at maths, but to do that we need to make use of our arithmetic operators. They're just our usual signs that we use in maths, but slightly different because we're typing them in on a computer. So let's have a look in the shell here, and let's straight away get Python to do some maths. Now I'm doing this in the shell because I'm not writing a program, I'm just putting in a single command and I want to see Python do it. So let's just get it to add some numbers. Let's do 8 plus 4 and press enter. Python does the calculation and gives us the response. And we can do other expressions. Let's do 8 take away 5 and we get 3. So they're usual symbols. Now to multiply we use the asterisk. So if I do 3 times 6, so the times we use the asterisk, that's shift and 8, or if you've got a number pad on your keyboard it's just above the 9. So there we are, let's just do that, and once again it does the maths for us. And we can also do something like 10 divided by, now to do that we use a slash, and that's the slash we use, and if I divide that by 2 it gives us 5. Noticed it returned a float, a real number, and that's a number with a decimal point. And that's because if you divide by something, there's a high probability that you might get a remainder. For example, if I did 9 divided by 2, we get 4.5, which is correct. So we can get Python just to do simple maths by typing in our expression. Okay, the actual calculation that we want it to do, and we can put in longer expressions. We could go something like 6 plus 3 times 2 take 3 times 3, and it gives us the answer 3. Odd mass rules apply, so we could change the answer to that by using our brackets and things like that, and it would follow the order of priority that we get from using BODMAS. Remember, it does the brackets, orders, divides and multiplies, and then subtraction and addition, or addition and subtraction. So let's times that by 2, take away 3 times 3, and we should get a different answer. This time we get 9. So it did the 6 plus 3 first, then it times that by 2, and then it took away from that separately 3 times 3, and we get our result there. So that's a much longer expression, and Python follows the BODMAS rules, just like we've been taught in maths. So there we are. We can type in commands directly into the shell, or we can write a simple program as a new file. So let's do that. Here's a little program. I said print. I will now add the numbers 8 to 5, and I've added a variable so I can store the answer to the expression, and I'm going to assign the answer to that variable. Now Python will always look at this side of this statement first. It will always do the calculation, work out the answer, and then put it into the variable. And so 8 plus 5 is 13. That will go into the answer, and then this line it says print, the answer is, and it will print out the answer. So we need to save our file and then run it. So let's run. So I'm going to run the module. F5 would do that as well. Restarts the shell, adds the numbers 8 and 5, and it gives us the answer 13, just as we expected. So we can store the answer in a variable so that we can use it somewhere else. The other useful thing we can do is actually use variables in our expressions. So let's take a look at a program that does that. So here's my next program. I've got a variable that I've called number1. I've put in the value 50. I've assigned 50 to that variable. Here I've got another variable called num2. I've assigned 20 to the variable, so that's been placed inside there. I've then got a third variable called answer, and I've said num1 take away num2. So here, this expression goes and gets the value from num1, takes away the value from num2, works out the answer, which is 30, and it will place it into the answer. Then the next line prints out what's in num1, 50, joins it with the comma, and we call that concatenation. It concatenates what's in num1 with this string take, goes and gets num2, 20, says equals, goes and gets the answer from there, and prints that on the screen. So again, let's run that and see what that looks like in the shell. So run module. And here we are. It says 50 take 20 equals 30. So it's done the maths. It's used variables instead of literal numbers. Okay. If we had, say our program said 30 take 10, this is a literal number. So it would be 30 take 10 and give us 20. That's what would happen. So this is called a literal number, but we can use the variable num2. And again, if we change this just to prove it's happening actually, let's do 80 take 40. We need to save it and run it. So I'm going to do an F5 this time. And 80 take 40 equals 40. Of course it does. So we can use our variables inside our expressions, or we can use literal numbers. Now, let's take a look at one last program. Here I've got the variable num1, and I've assigned the value 80 to it. So there's 80 inside num1. I've then got a new line. It says num1 is equal to num1 multiplied by 2. So this is my expression. Now what you need to remember is Python always looks at this side of an assignment before it looks where it goes. So it looks at this part of the line first, then it looks, where am I going to put the answer? I'm going to put it in num1. So if it just looks at this bit first, it goes and gets the value from num1, which is 80, times it by 2, and then puts the answer into num1. So what I want you to think about is in this line, where it prints the value in num1 is num1, what would appear on the screen when we type run? Now I'm not going to show you the answer to that one. I want you to think about what the answer will be. Try and think why that's your answer, and then type the code in to Python, write a little program that does this, copy it exactly, hit run, and see if your answer's right.